y'all, what's up? Thank you so much for joining me here at the channel of Alchemy's Alchemy. So today we're going to be furthering our discussion on the manifestation theory of Tesla. I found the immediate correlation with the 369 manifestation theory and that of the astrological houses, the mutable houses of change. I was like, I wonder what Tesla thought of the correlation between his manifestation theory and the mutable houses. I wonder if he was even into astrology like that, right? But me as an astrologer, I immediately made the association to manifestation and change, right? Because as manifestors, we are creating change. If nothing changes, then nothing has been manifested, right? So they kind of work hand in hand. And I wanted to specifically go in today on the number 9. So let's run it on the number 9. First, let's look at the significance of the patterns of 9. And I'll say this is another reason why we're running it too. We're going to run it on the number 9 because of the 3, 6, and 9 numbers. I believe that 9 is the divine signature of the creator. And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to explain, right? Let's go ahead and get into it. Why not, right? So running it on the patterns of the number 9. There are, of course, the 9-month human gestational periods. We also have 9 chromosomes in the DNA, all right? The circle and the line, right? The circle is 360 degrees, which makes 9. The line is 180 degrees, which makes 9. And these are key because the circle and the line are the 2 rudimentary shapes of all other shapes in our existence, right? But moving along, 9, there are 9 planets. Shout out and giving an honorable mention to Pluto. Okay. Sorry you fell off, babes. But yeah, 9 planets. And then I wanted to take a look though at the symbolism because this is where 9 hits heavy. All right. So 9 is the last single digit number. And in fact, it represents rebirth as well because you're kind of at the doorway of closing out one cycle, birthing the next. 9 though, being that it is the last in this cycle, right? It's the last single digit number. It's also written as a 0 and a 1, which is the beginning of the number line. So we literally see the beginning becoming the end or the first becoming the last. So the 9 has the alpha omega archetype written all inside of it. Yes, it is the signature of God. Now, this would also be why the orators of 2 of the most powerful and prolific deities to, I would say, be known by common man, us, right? would be that of the association of 9 with the Greek god Zeus, okay? Jupiter, also known as, rules the 9th house. Now, there's also the connection with the Father God of the Christian Holy Trinity. And this is by way of the constellation Sagittarius. Now, if you look at and probably some other things as well, but this is a big one. So if you look at Sagittarius, which sits in the southern part of the sky, also ruled by the 9th house, it's actually the archer's pointing and aiming towards the cross, or AKA the Crux constellation, which is the symbol of the Christian church, right? Now, to go further or farther, Jupiter actually, or Zeus and Jupiter are also etymologically links back to the farther star, or AKA the father star. As well as there is a terminology from Latin, I think it's Agnus Dei, but it means Lamb of God. And then we know that, of course, to be associated with the Christian theology as well. So yes, and this is not at all to compare anything like that, right? But it's just to kind of highlight that the orators must to have known. They had to have known, y'all. It's no coincidence that the 9 has such a powerful energy and to resonate with the ultimate of manifestors, the creator, these creation stories. Now, I want to go a little bit further too, right? Now, we talked about the circle and the line, or the 0 and the 1 by way of the symbology of the 9. Now, when we think about the circle and the line, as far as the geometry, it's also patented in the human DNA. We're made in the image of God, right? So if 9 is associated with the creator, then we would also have these circular heads and linear bodies and torsos, okay? Now, man being also made in the image of God, right? God using the circle and the line to create all shapes. We've made our own digital worlds with the 0 and the 1, aka the circle and the line, the binary code, all right? So there's all these connections with nines, heaviness in association with creation, right? So those are the patterns that I picked up on, right? And being the Tesla, again, thought of the theory and mentions it as being a key, it would make so much sense because nines truly patterned and patented within our universal structure. Now I'm gonna go a little bit further. Let's talk about the signature of God by way of the nine, and we're going to see what astrology has to say about it. So when it comes to the ninth house, and what it has to say about manifestation, 9 is associated with Jupiter, and Jupiter rules both the ninth house and the 12th house as well, right? The mutable houses are all ruled by Jupiter and Mercury, but it's important to think about manifestation from the aspect of Jupiter, which Jupiter deals with experience and outcomes. So if you're a manifester, everything's going to have you're aiming to have a certain experience and outcome from your manifestations, right? But hold on there, Sir Frankenstein, because with great power comes the great responsibility of understanding that there are karmas associated, 12th house, with what you are creating and the experiences that are occurring from the ninth house too, right? So of course 9 is associated with Jupiter, right? And this is the planet of higher learning, wisdom, and benevolence, okay? So basically Jupiter is a wise teacher, and experience. I mean, who can teach you more than experience? What can teach you more than an experience, right? It is the ultimate teacher. In fact, if you're experienced, you might be known as like an expert, and you can give some people some, words of advice because of your level of knowledge, right? And that's one of the gifts that experience can give. It can make you very fruitful and very fortunate, all right? And it seems to be the theme of life, basically, with how much 9 shows up. All right, y'all. So since 9 is the signature of God, I wanted to talk about the signature of God through astrology, and we're going to tap into the planets because what's an astrology conversation without talking about how we plan it, okay? 9, of course, is associated with Jupiter, aka Zeus. And we know Zeus had a lot of children when it came to the Greek mythology. So it makes sense that the other planets also have a resonance with the number 9. Mars is the planet of force, motivation, drive, and it rules the first house and the 8th house, which makes 9. Venus is the planet of love, harmony, and attraction, and it rules the 2nd house and the 7th house, which make 9. Mercury is the god of communication, observation. But Mercury, yes, it does rule the 3rd house and the 6th house. So it also has a resonance of 9. And then we have the sun and the moon, our ebb and flow, day and night, what we pour into and generate. That has a resonance with 4 and 5, the 4th house and the 5th house, and that also makes 9 as well. So we can see that the other planets are also tapping into this 9 energy, the ability to rebirth and expand and have the capability to tap into this higher understanding and learning is necessary for the other planets, right? Because they all have their own specific governances, right? But they're also aiming to go far. Yeah, 9 is deep like that, okay? So I was like, let's just cover the 9th house. Let's talk about it. Let's run it. Let's see what other information we can gather from this principle, and helps to just kind of, tap more into like the 369 theory that Tesla had and his manifestation techniques that he offers to the world. So when it comes to Jupiter, all right, Jupiter probably is like that. Jupiter's a groovy planet. Jupiter is the planet of benevolence, right? It sits basically on top of this aspect of fortune through wisdom, expansion. It gives birth to philosophy on life, as well as enlightenment through worldly experiences. So Jupiter is the brightest star. All right, that's pretty cool. So it's the largest planet, but it also governs the 9th house of philosophy, higher learning, as well as the 12th house of endings and unveilings. And essentially, the 9 is basically the mutable creative firehouse, and the 12th house is the mutable emotional water house, right? And Whenever fire and water get together, there's steam. Steam makes clouds, so this kind of makes sense now, the whole idea of Neptune being related to dreams. But there's a dreamy aspect of what manifestation could possibly be that makes us all very inspired to become manifestors, right? The outcomes, what change we can create, right? Like the inspiration basically, right? And this is the energy that Nine carries with it, just because it's connecting to Jupiter in the ninth house, right? So experience is also the wise teacher, because experience of course leads to the outcomes that are inevitable to follow. Okay, and science is based off this, right? There is an experiment, a scientific theory or an experiment where there's an experience and there's an outcome, right? And we can gather information from that. History is also taught to us by the same principle of these were the experiences that these people had and thus were the outcomes, right? So ultimately life is basically explained away as this experience. And I think that's why there's such a heavy resonance with nine, the patterns of nine, how prolific it is that nine is associated with these ultimate deities, right? Because I think the point of life is to experience, you're only on a trip while you're on the trip. You're only going through XYZ as you're going through the XYZ, right? So experience is kind of like the marker, right? Like basically the ninth house governs travel and things like that. All right, so basically to get back to it, when it comes to manifestation, right, by way of the manifestation theory, when it comes to manifestation, aka the change that the ninth house opens the doorway to, it's about the change of the experience and the outcome that it's going to leave, right? It's a very important thing to consider when you're manifesting Dr. Frankenstein, okay? There's a lot of reasons for that, which we'll discuss more in depth, right? But there's definitely some considerations, some wisdom, some things that you can gain a higher understanding from, some enlightening things that you may not have even realized you were going to become aware of until you experienced it, right? So that X marks the spot for a very heavy reason. And I'm not going to say like it's the most important aspect to manifestation by far, because it's not the only aspect of manifesting, right? The 3 and the 6 definitely play a part in the rhythm of manifestation, but I would say it is the ultimate, because it measures how far you can take something. And the farthest thing that can be measured by manifestations are the experiences that they create and the outcomes that follow. Now, when it comes to Jupiter, it is the personification of wisdom, knowledge, enlightenment, and of course it governs our fortune, right? You can have a wealth of wisdom or a wealth of information or wealth of knowledge when you come into a situation, right? And that can help you become very enlightened. So, given if you got a food allergy and you know that the Thai rice has peanut sauce, okay, you're very fortunate, and because you were enlightened on that knowledge, you didn't taste the food and you don't have to take a trip to the ER. Right? You're lucky. I'm lucky I read that, right? It kind of makes you feel like that. That's the kind of vibe of Jupiter's energy. Let's see. Let's say you have a bit of knowledge and you're aware that maybe a recession is coming, okay, because you're wise and you've seen a thing or two, you've been around the block, and you also have wisdom and understanding of how to prepare, right? You're probably much better off as far as experiences and outcomes from the recession than the guy who didn't know, who wasn't enlightened and who wasn't able to prepare, right? So again, like, Jupiter marks the spot, X marks the spot. It's a really key and potent part of the manifestation theory. Jupiter also governs the philosophical aspect of these experiences. All right. So again, experience has a lot to do with outcomes and the overall experience as well, right? So the experience of the outcome. And philosophy is kind of where experience is able to give birth. Let's say you attend an event, right? And you get there on time. But once you're there on time, you realize ain't shit left, right? And then, you may have the philosophy of, or needed the philosophy of, early bird catches the worm, right? So you would have to get there mega early. Surfers have the philosophy of riding the wave, where business professionals may feel like time is money. there are farmers, right? You reap what you sow, right? You're going to get the harvest of what you planted and what you took care of and how you took care of it, right? Save the best for last, right? If the best act is going to be saved for last, I can show up a little fashionably late, right? That's cool. So basically, yeah, this is what experience does. Experience garners our philosophy. And we as manifestors have our own philosophy on life as well, right? So if you're pretty good at manifestation, right? The universe supports me. The universe is abundant, right? Versus if if your manifestations are not that good right now, right? Life sucks. Nice guys finish last, right? So, and what's cool about this too is when it comes to like the ninth house, this is a very mutable house, right? So things can always change. So just because it sucks right now, it doesn't mean that you can have the universe at the fingertips and you guys are working excellent together and you're one and all this divine shit. And yes, I'm just saying like you can win too, right? Now, the other big perspective that I want to talk about when it comes to experience, aka the X that marks the spot. Experience lets you know that, hey, you're here now. You're experiencing it, so it can't be undone. For instance, you can't be like midway down the water slide or like midway into the roller coaster ride and be like, stop, let me off this thing. But you're on the slide, right? You just got to ride that thing on out. And that's kind of what experience lets you know as well. So now that you're in the experience, it can't be undone. Now, 9 does represent rebirth, so things can't be redone for sure, right? But can you undo what's been done? No. You can't untoast the toast. You cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. Dr. Frankenstein, right? So you have to sometimes be able to bear witness to the things that you are manifesting. This is why you need to become a wise manifester, right? Now, I want to talk about the story of Calypso. Now, Calypso was one of Zeus's lovers, and Zeus had a many, all right? And Zeus, aka Jupiter. So he had his way with women, because he was the ultimate deity. So essentially, his relationship with Calypso would lead to a child. And his wife Hera found out and had a fit. Okay. She turned his beloved Calypso, the beautiful, into a bear. Okay. So Calypso runs to her man's like, babes, can you please take me back to my original form? And Zeus tells her no. And I think a key part of what the Greeks were hitting on is that once you're at this X marks the spot, it's kind of like the point of no return. We've crossed over into the actual experience of it, right? It's that point where you can, that's why that X kind of, you have to have that signature, like be ye wise, because you could also be creating experiences that could create a lifetime of problems for people like Calypso, right? She don't want to live her life as a bear. And Zeus basically told her, well, babes, nothing I can do about it, okay? I'm not finna piss off Hera again. So Calypso runs off into the forest. And then later on, the tale would have it that her son, who becomes older, comes of age, sees his mother, not realizing it's his mother and just thinking it's merely a bear, aims to kill it. And Zeus basically sees this would be a horrible thing. So he instead turns them into the constellations Ursa Major and also Ursa Minor. Now, it's a very prolific tale, and it's very prolific for a couple of reasons. Big Dipper would be Ursa Major, and she never falls below the horizons. And it's almost like saying too, like, you're also going to also have to be responsible to bear witness to those things, right? So if you went to last night's party and crashed it again, like you always do, there's a kind of that feeling of walking away like, I've got to bear witness to this. If you make a decision to become a criminal and do some knucklehead shit, and you get caught, right? You've got to bear witness to whatever comes with that punishment. If you take the courage and actually try that thing that you were going for, right? And you do it, you bear witness to that change of you doing something that you didn't know if you could do. You didn't know how it was going to turn out, right? But you've done it, and you can bear witness to that, right? So you can't take that away from me, right? When it comes to manifestation, which I said a lot, y'all. I know I said a lot, okay? It is one of the keys to manifestation would be in the 9th house alongside the planet Jupiter as well when it comes to astrology. So the 9th house and the planet Jupiter. And Jupiter governs our expansion, our wisdom, our higher understanding, and the ability to become enlightened. And that's a responsibility that manifestors, that we as the children of God carry. As 9 is the signature of God, and God ultimately put that signature on us and gave us the opportunity and the ability to be creators. So with that, it's important to understand the power that comes with experience and an enlightenment, as well as the responsibility, right? So that when we're making these experiences and having to manage these outcomes, they're actually things that we can bear. 9 is the planet of expansion, wisdom, higher learning. And the other planets also have the same resonance of trying to achieve manifestation or manifesting through the 9's energy as well. So when it comes to experience and outcome, the planets, aka how we plan it, are also working together to facilitate the furtherment and the advancement of their aims, right? So that we can achieve the manifestation of our desires. So just because I said a lot, y'all, I know I said a lot, but just to recap, right? When it comes specifically to the planets, Mars is the planet that governs force and drive and our motives, basically that carries us forward with wisdom towards the things that we desire and romance over, and with wisdom can take us towards the observation and communication through learning what it is that we need to pour into with the wisdom. And after pouring into that and becoming more familiar, we can then go ham at creating it, right? With the sun, enjoying it, and doing it big, right? Basically. And that's the purpose of the planets running in the same resonance, right? The planets reminding us that it too, or they too, like the ultimate signature of God, the 9, are on a journey of experience and enlightenment through worldly experiences that will take them farther and lead to outcomes that they can enjoy. But ultimately, the planets are working to help us achieve the things that we desire, help us to get to our aims, help us to go far. And so with this little extra bit of information, adding that with the Tesla theory, I was like, this is kind of phenomenal, right? It just supports the ultimate idea that manifestation comes through change and understanding how change works. And I guess also accepting the responsibility of the person who created said change. Ultimately, the things that we create, we are responsible for. And it's better to be wise about the things that we aim to create and manifest, because once it's done, it can't be undone. And I think those are all that's pretty much it, y'all. I think we ran it real good and significantly when it comes to the 9. I'm a very thorough young lady, by the way. And I am the type of young lady who likes to make this type of content. And if you are the type of person who likes this type of content, then you are my people. So you know what to do. Please come back for sure, because I'll be making some more content like this. And until we get the opportunity to engage again, I hope you take care. Bye.
Jupiter booty, can you twerk some? Jupiter booty, can you twerk some? Shorty got the hair like Rapunzel. Make a nigga fall in love like dominoes. Jupiter booty, can you twerk some? Jupiter booty, can you twerk some?